Second Maccabees 2. All right, the reason I bring this up is because we're approaching the subject matter in Daniel. Daniel is about to give us a prophecy that's going to take place during the Maccabean revolt. Now, he's prophesying way down the line. People don't realize this. He's talking about, because he talks about the Medes and the Persians in his next prophecy, but he talks about them going down. Them going down is Greece. Greece comes in. Grecia comes in. Alexander the Great only lives to be 33 years old. After him, his four generals take over, and when they take over, it's going to be the Maccabean revolt. That's that time period. And so we're in the book of Maccabees. But before we go there, I'm going to show you a problem with this. There is somebody who is a charlatan, I think. A lot of people have fallen for this guy, Ron Wyatt. And I'm going to read you an interview about him supposedly finding the Ark of the Covenant. Here's the interview. This was in 1984. Now let me ask you this before we start showing the slides. What got you interested in looking for the Ark of the Covenant? He responds, well, I had a very unusual experience. And in the slide here, we're going to go to the thing that I walked past. And my mouth said to me, the owner of the property, that is Jeremiah's grotto, and the Ark of the Covenant is in there. Now, when I saw another interview by him, and he says that his arm went out and pointed at it, this is all overpowering him and something he's not controlling. Then he goes on. He says, that's the first, I mean, my mind didn't tell my mouth what to say. I know that sounds weird, but that's what happened. So his mouth told his mind, not the other way around. Yeah. Now, let's just think about it. He says, that's where Jeremiah's grotto is. And the Ark of the Covenant is in there. You didn't find that in the Bible anywhere. Grotto?
What would he be doing in the ghetto anyways?
You know what a grotto is? It's a grave. It's a cemetery. That's not a Bible term. Supposedly this guy's King James, but he's been reading something that's not a King James that's influenced him. Second Maccabees 2. This is what he's been plagiarizing off of. Second Maccabees 2. Second Maccabees 2:1. Now, if you can't read it, I know you're not familiar with this story because it is a fairy tale. It is also found in the records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take the fire as it was being signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, that is, those that are being carried away from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. And with other such speeches exhorted he them, that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went into the mountain where Moses climbed up. You know what that is? Mount Nebo. Where it says, well, let me finish it. Where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. That is, remember God killed him, but he let him look into Canaan. So Mount Nebo. Verse 5. And when Jeremiah came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and stopped the door. This is exactly what Ron Wyatt says, that it was filled with rubbish, but there was a cave that he went in. Now, Ron Wyatt has changed the story a little bit, so it's his own and more spectacular. He says it was not Moses' mountain that this happened on. He says it was on Mount Calvary, is what Ron says. But he plagiarized it from this. Verse 6. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, As for the place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. Okay, so what the book of Maccabees is saying is that there's a mysterious place in which the Ark of the Covenant is hid, and they're claiming, Maccabees is claiming, that it was hid in Mount Nebo, and it's unknown today, similar to the body of Moses, you know. They took that and they played on that. Ron Wyatt took their story and played on another one. They're all building fairy tales on each other. No, that's that's an RSV, so it may be a revision too. All of them may be a little different.
It's similar, but
Mm-hmm. And none of them will read the same as the 1611 she has.
I mean, the principle of what you're saying is there, but
It
the
sounds
wording
nothing like what he's talking about, but I can catch words every now and again, so I can try.
that's me too, I can catch words and say, okay, that's where it's at.
Mm-hmm. This is taken from the King James Apocrypha. It's the same as what is in that one right there, the 1611. However, the 1611 will be harder to read because of the Old English lettering, but that should be the same wording. Okay, that's the craziness that was going on there. And so he says this. He says that he found on the Ark of the Covenant, he claims all kinds of wild stuff, that there was a hole in the cave and the blood of Jesus Christ's cross that was directly above it had dripped. And it dripped on this ark, on the mercy seat. And he took a shaving of it and he had it scientifically analyzed. And it had 24 of the 47 chromosomes that a human has. His claim is this: because Jesus only got one side of his blood, the blood of God, instead of the blood of Mary, which is wrong because Jesus Christ was 100% man and 100% God.
Amen.
It would be the same count as a human. So he's taken away the humanity of God, of Christ, and said he was only deity. Well, that's wrong.
He's trying to say the Ark of the Covenant is buried somewhere.
Directly under it, in the mountain. And he dug through and found it.
Oh, good for him. But I can't believe that.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a popular thing. You look it up. Lots of people have bought into it. You mean Noah's Ark?
Oh, I'm thinking of Noah's Ark. But still, I love it. Ark of the Covenant. I can't see that.
That one is not. Supposedly he found that too in Turkey. Problem with that is what he found is not what he's claiming. There's no wood in it. It's a buildup of a mudslide that is roughly the same dimensions lengthwise as what the ark would have been, but it's much wider than the ark would have been. Well, it's shaped like a boat. It has a bow and then a cave in. There's a bunch of problems with it. It's not 3 stories like the ark was. The other thing is this: it's not the only one. On that same mountain, you'll find other ones that are smaller. So what? Did all 3 of Noah's sons build themselves arks? Right.
There's one in Tennessee or somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all a little too fanciful. The other thing about him is with all of these things that he's found, there's been no scientific proof for them. He's not given any actual proof. Archaeological proof would be you call in the Archaeological Society and have them take pictures and put it on display.
It doesn't sound like he had
And he won't do that with any of it. No, he goes to the other way. He says that the government shut him down, which they didn't. And he says, the other story he tells is that the angels that he saw in the cave that were talking to him told him not to reveal any of this until they passed the Sabbath day law, which is the abomination of desolation. Yeah, well, he had to get in there to get his chromosome sample.
Yeah, but there's no way.
Yeah.
God killed 53,000 for looking into it.
Yeah.
For one man looking into it.
Uh-huh.
Who was the other one that he appears? Breached. He caused a breach on David's body.
Yeah. What is his name?
Uzziah.
Uzzah.
Uzzah. Yeah. So I mean, anybody that's ever touched it has died. Matter of fact, the last one that opened it up and looked in, it killed 53,000. So they don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, there's times it has been touched and nobody died. You remember a time that it was touched many times and no one died from it? The Philistines.
That's right. The Philistines carried it. They didn't know.
They opened it up and put something in it.
Thought they put it on the card. Okay.
They put the hemorrhoids in there. Yeah, and the mice. Yeah. That they're offering a gift. Mm-hmm. God didn't kill them for it. God has mercy on heathen that he doesn't have on his children, because his should know better. God was making a point to David. David was running ahead of, great zeal, but no knowledge. David had zeal and he wanted to do the right thing. However, he should have studied the Bible before moving. And then he did. He went back and he figured out, oh yeah, it's not supposed to be just anybody pick it up and haul it away. That's right. But no, I don't believe that'll ever be found. I believe it's in heaven. I think God took it and put it back up there. There's not any trinkets down here he wants man looking at until he's here to oversee it and make sure nobody worships the trinket. Every time there's been a God-given anything, man has worshipped it as an idol and forgotten about God. Yeah, like the serpent on a pole. I mean, that should have been a great thing to point you to God, but no, they wanted to worship the pole. And the breastplate, what do you call it, Urim and Thummim, they wanted to worship that under Gideon's day. They had to destroy that. There's always something. If they didn't have something, they made up a star. Okay, so we're in Daniel tonight. Daniel. Yeah, you can put the fairy tales down. They're hard to read.
Yeah, and they're so far-fetched, it's almost laughable. They're so far-fetched.
They're not interesting.
Yeah. All right, we're in Daniel 8. Daniel 8. Daniel 8, verse 1.
Think we'll get out of this before the rapture?
Let's hope not, really. Let's hope we don't get out of this lesson before. Daniel 8, 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which had appeared unto me at the first. That is, he's telling you, I had a previous vision. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about a different one. We know it's different because he said it was in a different year. Okay, that makes it clear. He had one in chapter 7. We covered it, those visions, or a vision that was multiple visions. Then 2 years later, he has this one. The vision is of the fall of Persia and the superpower Greece taking over, and subsequently the Maccabean revolt. We talk about that way on down the line. Daniel chapter 8, verse 2. And I saw a vision. Okay, so we're not to think that Daniel went here physically. He saw this in a vision. He keeps repeating in a vision, in a vision. Why? Because where is he? Verse 1. Obviously, he's in Babylon before it's fallen. But he says, I'm seeing something. And what he's going to see is he's going to see the next takeover and that one's takeover. So it's way out there. This is some advanced prophecy God's given him. And no wonder the people at the time had no clue, and he didn't even have a clue. And he was saying, somebody explain this to me. Okay, he says, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, not Babylon, and saw in a vision, he wasn't there, and I was by the river Ulai, that's not in Babylon. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hands, but he did according to his will, and became great. Just for shortcut's sake, let's find out what it's talking about so we don't get bored. Verse 19. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last of the indignation. For at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest, having 2 horns, are the kings, plural, of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king, singular, of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So the beasts are kingdoms and the horns are the kings. And so God's giving him the prophecy of the big bad bears that are coming in to take it. Now we saw before a bear that was raised up on his side and he had 3 ribs in his mouth. Okay, you've got this one is pushing 3 directions. So I don't know if there's a correlation there, but probably. Verse 4, back up to verse 4. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast we saw in the interpretation of it as kingdoms, might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. That is, he's a type of the Antichrist. In the end, it will be the Antichrist, the devil incarnate on the earth doing these things. But in the meantime, we've got little pictures of it. Look at it in Isaiah 10. Isaiah 10, verse 5. Everyone that takes over and has property of the people of Israel is a type of the Antichrist, because that's what he does. He takes over. He wants to rob God of his heritage, which is his people. Isaiah 10, verse 5, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. That is God saying, I'm mad, therefore I'm going to give these enemies of Israel just a little bit of wiggle room here. But then he's going to turn around and bust his staff up and throw it in the fire. Isaiah 10, verse 13. For he saith, by the strength of mine hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. This is Assyria bragging. Daniel 5, verse 19. These guys think they're doing their will. God knows what their will, their desire is to do. And when it lines up with a punishment, he says, go for it. Daniel 5, verse 19. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would he slew, and whom he would he kept alive, his will. And whom he would he set up, and whom he would he put down. That is, he was so powerful, he got to do whatever he wanted to do, but obviously only within what God would allow. Because when he decided what he wanted to do was magnify himself against God, God showed up and said, no, I don't think so. Go be a beast a while. Daniel 11, verse 3. Every one of these types of Antichrist is so full of pride that they think they can force their will on everybody else. That's the problem in politics, is there's too much power. And that power can be used satanically because the devil is the one who craves power. God is the one who has it. Daniel 11, verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. That is, whatever I want to do. Daniel 11:36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Revelation 13. Revelation 13:16. Revelation 13:16. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, and on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. I'd say that's doing according to his will and enforcing it on everybody that moves. Okay? The types are all through the Bible of the Antichrist, and that's what he does. When he comes to power, it's his way or the highway, or well, his way or the machete. And verse 2, back at Daniel 8, verse 2. He says, I saw in a vision, and I was at Shushan the palace. Okay, Shushan, I'm going to show it to you. Well, maybe. That's not what we want. I'll show it to you. Shushan is, there we go. The Bible calls it Shushan. The Iraqis call it Susa. Okay, so that's Elam. It's south and east of Babylonia. And Susa is their palace. You can look it up on Google. Google's got actual images. It's still there. You see, it's fully functional. The palace, and it's up on a little hill. He says, by the river Ulai. Now, I don't have pictures of the river. It's probably on your screen, connected to the Tigris is where it's supposed to be connected to. Let me see if I've got you the info on here. Is the capital of Medo-Persian Empire, not Babylonian Empire. Daniel 8, verse 2, he says, Shushan the palace. That is, it was a center of rule. Now, it could have been, you'll find sometimes when they're saying a palace, they mean a summer headquarters, a summer palace. Ahab had one. He had one in the Valley of Megiddo. In 8:16, he says, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai. Okay, so we don't mean that the man is standing in the middle of the water and between those banks. What they say is, I put it in here somewhere, I don't know where I put it. They say that this is a tributary of the Tigris River, and it splits into two. This has been, archaeologists have found this. So when he's saying between the two, he's saying that this man was standing at the headwaters of where this Ulai splits. This is all information we don't have now. Archaeologists have gone back and found it, but those rivers don't exist to this day. So that's what you get from the Bible, is advanced commentary on this world we live in. Now, this is what Ruckman has to say about this whole thing, and I really like this comment. It says, God had a controversy with his own people, so he called Nebuchadnezzar to take them captive. When God was through with Babylon, he called Cyrus to wipe them out. When he was through with Persia, he called Alexander the Great. When he got through with Alexander the Great, he called Caesar. When he finished with Rome, He called the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Huns, etc. And on through history. God allows kings and kingdoms to rise up as long as they suit his purpose. They exist, and the moment the Lord is through with them, they're cast on the dump heap of history. Now, that's as far as we'll go. We'll pick up on the details of the prophecy next time. All right, so that'll pick us up at, I don't know, I might start back at 4, but we'll probably pick it up around 4. Yeah, that's a good spot.